Now we've come into ChatGPT and we want to just have a look at some examples that follow best practices as well as some that do not. At the same time, we'll also have a look at different types of prompts that are available in ChatGPT. So some questions like, let's say for example, stress management tips. Writing something like stress management tips. This is a very vague and incomplete question. These are some of the practices that we do not follow. So, this question or this prompt is pretty vague and incomplete. It lacks relevant background information or context about a specific situation or topic. It also uses incomplete language and doesn't provide enough information for ChatGPT to generate a useful response. A better way of asking a question rather than asking for stress management tips would be to write something like this. What are some effective ways to manage stress during a busy workday? So, in this case, the prompt is pretty specific and contextual. We're providing relevant background information about the topic of stress management, and we are also mentioning it to be stress that has to be managed during a busy work day. It uses very natural language and also makes use of complete sentences, which were some of the 2 points that were important when maintaining best practices. Just a simple example. Now, notice that the answers were given to us in this case as well. When we asked for stress management, we were told to exercise, get enough sleep, prioritize self care, eat a balanced diet, limit caffeine, and things like that. But when I mentioned that it was specifically during a busy work day, my results have completely changed. Here I've been told to take breaks, prioritize my tasks, use time management techniques, mindfulness, stay hydrated, avoiding multitasking, and also listening to music. The answers were more relevant to what I'm looking for. At the same time, you also have to make sure that you avoid biasness. How do you avoid biasness? Like I said, you need to be inclusive and unbiased. A question like this: can you suggest some gender neutral pronouns that I can use when addressing a group of people? Now, this particular prompt here is inclusive, it's unbiased, it's avoiding language that could be offensive or even discriminatory. It also uses a natural language and complete sentence once again, and notice how the response is more accurate, and it also talks about us addressing a group of people. So here also we're being specific and we're mentioning what our audience is. All right. So this is basically another example of how you can be inclusive and also unbiased. A wrong way of going about it is when you ask a biased and offensive question. Asking a question like this, which is, why do some people choose to live in poverty and not work for a living? Now, this question is very offensive. It is also pretty biased. And it's also using language which seems very judgmental and discriminatory. The answers that you get will also kind of be pretty biased, or it might be inaccurate as well, right? So if you actually read up this answer, you'll see that the answer kind of works on the biasness of living in poverty over here. All right. Another kind of question that you should avoid writing is offensive questions like these. All right. Also, asking for closed ended questions or unengaging questions is also not going to give you a good response. Like something like, do you prefer cats or dogs? Now, this is a very close ended question, doesn't really give you much response, and it also lets you know that as an AI model, I do not have personal preferences or emotions as humans, so I don't have any preferences and so on. But anyway, this is basically a close ended and an unengaging question. Some other questions that you could actually find pretty open ended and conversational is something like this: tell me about your favorite vacation spot and why you love it. Now, this will still give you the same answer, that it doesn't have any preferences. But if you have any particular destination in mind, it would have given you a good response. Tell me about, rather than your favorite, I could say a great vacation spot and why I will love it. Now, this is pretty open ended. Let's ChatGPT give me a good spot And at the same time, it also leaves room for a conversation as to why I will love it, thus giving me not a yes no question, but a pretty in depth question about why I might love Maui. So, the whole point is how you ask the question. When I said mention your favorite vacation spot and why you will love it, we got no response. But the minute you change the way you ask your question and you ask about a great vacation spot and why I might love it, I get quite a few different options that beaches, natural beauty, culture and history, outdoor activities and relaxations are some of the reasons that I will love this particular place, which is Maui. And at the same time, when we talk about the different types of prompt, we mentioned open ended prompts, right? So, this is a kind of open ended prompt. Another example of the open ended prompt is something like, what do you think is the biggest challenge faced in the healthcare industry today? And then it gives you a set of reasons why the healthcare industry is facing a lot of challenges. Pretty open ended question, gives us a good idea about the conversation. We've discussed the topic, we've become very specific about what the biggest challenge is, and we also specified which industry we're talking about, right? So give us a good response. A close ended question would be anything which gives us just a yes no question. Like in the previous session, we saw that is 5 greater than 10. This is a pretty close ended question. This question has a very limited set of responses. The question itself is just a simple question that is going to be answered in yes or no. So if you have any kind of questions which need you to just get a yes or no answer, then this would be the way you go about it. But if you want this answer in a little more detail, rather than saying is 5 greater than 10, you could just add a simple why is 5 greater than 10, and you get a more detailed answer to the same thing, because this is a much more open-ended question. All right. Okay, so I wrote why is 5 greater than 10. That's my bad. Why is 10 greater than 5? And there we go. A little more detailed answer to the same question, rather than just saying yes or no, that yes, 5 is smaller or greater. It actually gave us a reason as to why it is. 10 is greater than 5 because 10 represents a larger quantity. In numerical sense, it's twice, and so on and so forth. A more open-ended question. All right. Then another question, like I told you about the prompts, the third type of prompt was a conditional prompt. When we talked about a specific situation or condition, a certain scenario like this, in which I'm stating that if it is going to be raining tomorrow, what is the best indoor activity that I can do? So in this case, I am specifying a particular condition. In this case, it's rain, and I'm mentioning that it's going to be raining tomorrow. So what is the best kind of indoor activity that I can do? This is useful generating responses that are tailored to a specific situation, which in this case is rain tomorrow. All right. Then at the same time, we saw conversational starters, which was basically us talking about what do you think is the biggest challenge faced in the healthcare industry, or something like which is your favorite book and why. When you have a conversation with a friend, you would basically talk about a favorite book, but then you would also describe why the book is one of your favorite books, and so on and so forth. And lastly, opinion prompt. So an opinion prompt is basically asking for the user's opinion on a particular topic. Like, for example, what's your opinion on the use of AI in healthcare? In this case, it tells us that I do not have a personal opinion, but I can provide information on the use of AI in healthcare, the use of AI, and so on and so forth. It tells you everything about how all the data that it gathers gives you opinion on what the use of AI is in healthcare. However, you can actually initiate an opinion on ChatGPT by giving it a certain scenario or condition. One way to initiate an opinion is to ask ChatGPT for an opinion. Very simply put, for an example, this is something that I generally do with ChatGPT, where I tell ChatGPT that I created this caption for an Instagram reel and I wanted your opinion on the same. So when I say that, it says, as an AI language model, I do not have an opinion. However, I can give you feedback on the caption you created. Please share the caption and I'll do my best to provide constructive feedback. So it was just an Instagram reel in which I'm riding my motorbike on a dirt trail and there are mountains and lakes on the side. So I created this kind of caption where I mentioned that as you rev up your engine and hit the dirt trail, the wind in your hair, the thrill in your heart are all that matter. To your right, there's a lake. Beyond the lake, there are mountains. The sun has already set. It casts a shadow on everything and its path. With each turn of your bike, you feel the freedom and exhilaration of the open road, the beauty of nature, and the joy of living. So I just want to see what ChatGPT has to say about it. It says that the caption you created for your Instagram reel is very descriptive and vivid. It paints a beautiful picture of the natural scenery and the excitement of riding a bike on a dirt trail. It also conveys a sense of freedom, joy, and being present in the moment. Overall, the caption seems to be engaging and captivating, which is likely to attract viewers to your Instagram reel. Great job. All right. So, that is basically how I can actually generate a set of prompts and actually make sure that I get the best response tailored to what I want or expect from ChatGPT. So, this was a simple introduction into how you can basically use prompts. How do you create the best prompts, and what are the different types of prompts you can work with, and the best practices when creating a prompt for ChatGPT. I'll see you in the next session. Until then, stay safe, take care, bye bye.